Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Live Wonderful, day 3 of our creative photo tips. Everyone say hello to Alicia. I like your hat. Good morning, Debbie. Good morning, Donna. Hi, everyone. What's the TV stand for?
Tom Brady, and now everybody in Florida.
Another reason to come down.
Well, now it's going to be Tom Brady, Tampa Bay.
I know. And we like our camo down here. Is that camo?
Yes. It's like I don't
Oh, I
know.
meant the hat. I meant the hat. Is the hat camo?
Oh, yeah, that's camo. I am in
Yeah.
all prints today, guys. Feeling wild.
So thank you, ladies, for joining us this morning. I just want to reiterate that we are here to share any kind of camera that you have. We want to share creative storytelling tips that can help you get out of your head, back into feeling something we learned last week, and connecting to what this story is, what we're really trying to capture in our photos. So did anyone have fun taking photos in the last 2 days? You want to share with us in the chat box? Let us know. I have some photos to share. Alicia, did you take any photos?
No, I've been focused on some other things, and it's been very rainy here. So
Oh.
I've been thinking about doing setting my backdrop up and playing with some light. I'm into light, off camera flash. And putting my dogs there and like throwing food at them and trying to get them, you know what I mean?
I have totally a great idea. Who's with us, who's taken pictures, or answer this question, who has pets and they really want to have fun with pets? Because I have an idea I want to share with Alicia. She just brought that up. There is there's a photographer here in the Orlando area who has become like infamous for his pet portraits, and he does backdrops and lighting. And I want you to talk about that a little bit more in a minute after we go through today's tip. But what's cool is that what's the hardest thing about dogs, right? It's getting them to sit still and predict what they're going to do next, right? Like you can't get them to like look and get that expression like you want. So the guy's name is, I think it's I'll type this in here. I only know him on Instagram. He does a lot of charity events, so we've taken our puppy to do photos for charity. I think it's A Gold Photo, Adam Gold Photography. Instagram, Facebook, look him up. What he does is, because it's almost impossible to, hi Sarah, thanks for joining us. Hi Lucia. We're just diving into a fun chitter chatter about pet portraits before we got started. So this guy, Adam Gold Photography, talk about not having a niche and just diving into things. He was volunteering at a local humane shelter and kind of got laid off on his job. This was years ago. So he was trying to have fun, diving into his creativity, using his iPhone, not even anything serious. And he realized how hard it was to get photos of these dogs. They all had different personalities. And so he would throw food, throw it up in the air, and focus, like he would have a spot on the ground where the food would land. He'd focus on that spot, right? Hopefully the dog would be sitting there. But he knew the dog would go there if he threw the food there every time, right? So this guy's photos are like this.
Yeah.
Of like the dogs like jumping after food.
Yeah, I think it has to be very impressive work. I've seen ones where they're diving into water and they're like trying to chase that. It's incredible. It must be fun to capture.
Well, I know last week and the week before we talked a lot about story and like our why, right? So when I think about that why, it's not just I love my dogs, it's the weird, crazy expressions that they make, or how they're different from us because they have these huge jowls and big teeth, or whatever, slobber everywhere, whatever it is. For me, it's Leo's humongous ears, right? He's got this little eye and these huge ears. So we got to remember, like, what's that uniqueness about our subject that we're shooting?
So unique.
I would love for you to share your backdrop.
Yeah, I'm gonna play around probably maybe this weekend
I
or
would love for you to get your backdrops on.
okay, yeah. Yeah, there. I mean,
Okay.
I just work with like white, gray, and black, when I do backdrop stuff. But yeah,
Yeah,
I want to
easy.
try and see different techniques. Huh?
Very cool.
Okay.
I said, keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. You ever
Yeah,
heard of that, guys?
yeah, keep it
Well,
simple.
that is our goal here too. So if you're gonna take shots of your dogs and you want to try that out, who wants to take a guess? What's the most important setting if you've got a DSLR? What setting is Alicia gonna have to think about and balance this? And we'll talk about that extra light in a minute.
What setting
But
would
shutter
you?
speed,
Yeah.
yeah, like high, fast shutter speed to freeze those dogs' crazy expressions. So
Mm-hmm.
do it. I want
Okay.
to see these
Okay.
photos.
All right, I'll do it. I can't promise my dogs are gonna sit there very long.
That's what the food. Try the food thing. Like literally, I watched this guy hold the camera. He did all his settings. He held the camera. His assistant would where's my hand? His assistant would put the piece of food. And sometimes it was a spoon with peanut butter on the end. And he would put the spoon in his mouth and shoot as the dog was coming up to the spoon.
That's awesome.
So imagine a tongue coming at the camera. So, but the reason I want you to talk about your idea of external lighting and getting out your lights, I know the reason you brought it up is because it's rainy out and a lot of us are shooting more natural light, but that is today's tip.
What?
So who's been out there? I asked this a few minutes ago. If you're on with us, I want to know who's been taking pictures, because whatever story you're telling, whatever story you're trying to capture and you're out there creating, the next step is I want you to see the power and the direction of light. So I think I might have said this earlier in a presentation, but we say it all the time in our classes. The camera only sees one thing, right? It doesn't see the movement or the color or anything that we really are attracted to. It really just sees the light. So when we're going to look at this story that we're capturing, our why, whatever that may be, we have to, our next step that we're thinking about after focusing on our attention on our story is, where is the light coming from? What direction, right? Is it coming over my shoulder? Is it behind the subject? If you're shooting something in a windowsill, like where I'm in front of, the front of the subject's going to be dark because the light's coming through the window behind it, right? So direction and power of light. And you're going to have to add light, and you're going to have full control of the direction and the power of your light source if you're using external lights, right?
I think that's what's so fun for me is learning that an external flash, you can manipulate the direction and how powerful the light can be and what colors or whatever. So I have fun kind of diving into that. But most importantly is natural light for sure, because it has to work with it. So you have to know both. And it's so important to understand natural light. And
yeah, you're right.
Work with it.
Yeah, I get that. So whether you're using off-camera flash or even a flash on your camera, and this goes for cell phones too. By the way, guys, any camera, even the camera on top of this, not camera, flash. Hold on. You guys know that guy, right? That's the flash on top. What Alicia's talking about.
Don't even have it. Mine does.
I know, mirrorless too. But I know our cell phones do. So if you are shooting with your cell phones, you have this flash, right? And this is a tool that is all about the light. And what is it doing? It's adding more light because the camera only sees with light. So here's an extra source of light. The thing is with those flashes, it's one direction. It's one power source. You don't get to manipulate it. And it only works between about 2 and 10 feet in front of you, more like 4 to 8 feet in front of you, because 2 feet's too blinding, and 10 feet it starts to go away. So
here's a fun tip. I know this is kind of going off subject, but here's a fun tip. If anybody wants to take photos and manipulate light with their camera, I always put my camera flash on, or ask someone else for their phone and have someone hold it up and shine it at whoever, is getting the picture taken. So you are creating that light without having to flash on the camera that's taking the picture, which is nice. It creates that ambient light, if you can see it. But
so, and easy, what's great about that is it's kind of compounding on this idea of what kind of light do we have? Like, this is just a simple question. I want everyone who's listening right now to ask yourself, everything we're talking about, the whole mission behind Live Wonderful is, how do I become more present to this moment so I'm actually creating a story that is true to me? It makes sense, and it is what I see with the world. Now we have this camera. How do we use it, this tool that sees light, to manipulate or see that light in the best possible way for our story, right? So first is the natural light, and I'm going to pull up some pictures in a minute, but here's a great tool or practice to kind of go to the next level when you're looking at natural light, which in itself, our eyes they kind of trick us a little bit with our brain, and we have to build awareness and kind of step back and reanalyze, well, what color is that light? What direction is it coming from? We don't just know, right? We have to think about it as storytellers, as photographers. But if you want to practice figuring that out in a different way, using an extra cell phone light like that, especially on a subject, like a person, we all take selfies or take photos of people. If you notice, hey, I don't have enough light on my subject, right? Which is where you can see, actually, not to put both Alicia and I on the spot, I didn't do this on purpose, but look at us right now, you guys. Look at the light difference on us, right? So you can ask yourself, what direction is the light coming from on my video? And what the direction is the light coming from on Alicia's video, right? Here's how you know. You're gonna start looking for highlights, midtones, and shadows. So here are my highlights. Here's my midtones. Here's my shadows, right? My hair, the picture back there. Look at Alicia's light. Okay, so here's our subject, right? Alicia's side lit, right? Point to it as I talk about it.
Yeah.
Your highlight, where the light is coming from, is hitting the side of her face. Notice the little bit of catch light in her eyes, showing you the white of her eyes. But what is on the front of her? She's more shaded. She has shadow.
I don't because have light coming. Yeah, that, and I don't have light coming from the front of me. I only have light coming from the sides.
Exactly. And so and her midtones might be her skin color, her background, but our brains naturally know how to identify highlights, midtones, shadows, but we do it so quickly as photographers trying to hone in on this moment. We actually have to back up and slow down and analyze it. So it's cool. It's a cool idea to grab your cell phone, because it's going to be so obvious. You are directing that point of light. Now, where's all the natural light around that point of light? How is your extra light manipulating the natural light that you're seeing?
Yeah, well? Every time I do it, everybody's like, "Oh my God, like how come I haven't thought of that?" I'm like, it's so much better than having your camera flash and take that photo, and you get all the red eyes and everything. You don't get that with an external kind of. It's
so think about this, guys. She's talking more advanced with advanced lighting, right? When you go use an external flash, what you're doing is you're putting something on top of your camera that's called a trigger, and a radio trigger, and she's got a flash on a light stand somewhere else in her space. So she could be standing here and her light's coming from another direction pointed at her subject. But it still has to
that. I get to move it and manipulate it and make it brighter or less bright. So yeah, it is a lot more advanced, but it's not when you know and understand light. And I think that's the most important thing to take away from what we're talking about, is be aware of it. Like Danielle said, I love that. I notice it all the time when we're on this. I'm like, I'm in a spot where I don't have much sunlight, and Danielle has this beautiful glow on her. She's sitting right in front of a window.
All I'm doing, guys, is sitting in front of an open window, and I have the shades down a little bit so it's not blasting me with sunlight. But what's key to auto cameras, which also these silly, we're just looking at webcams on our computers, right? So, but the same goes for this guy, okay? So no matter what kind of cell phone you're using, auto, this mode, we have to remember, because a camera, even these are different, guys. The only difference is you get to manipulate the light with this one, okay? Which means you get to manipulate your story within that light. This, you don't get to manipulate too much. But any auto mode you're in, what does auto stand for? Do you remember what I always say in class?
It stands for average.
Average. It's just averaging the light. So now look at Alicia and I, and know that because these webcams and our cell phones are always in auto mode, even though you can make it brighter or darker, what you're doing is you're just averaging the light in certain areas. So because the direction of light is coming, and you've seen it change, the cloud's gone behind me, because the light is directly coming out of a window, which is dispersing it a little bit and softening it, but it's also very directional. And notice the rest of the light in my room. It's darker, right? It's not as bright as this. So my auto webcam is averaging this really bright dispersed light that is directed right at your subject. That's the key, guys. You want light on your subject, or you don't if you're looking for something like, hint, hint, one of our tips is going to be about that photo later. We'll talk about it, but that's the absence of light, right? So if your direction of light is very distinct, right? It's not just everywhere, but it's directional light, but it's dispersed, which is softer light, and everything else around you is a bit darker or average. The camera, the auto, is going to average all that light and simplify it, because it's always trying to get to medium light, right? It's trying to get things in the middle. But that's never really reality, right? We always have darks and we always have brights. So we kind of have to look and analyze what matters to our story. Where is that light coming from in our story? Look, I don't know what this is going to do, but I'm going to turn all my lights on in here. Okay. And let's see how it makes me look different on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
So notice how it changed the whole tone of the room. We have different, and here's the thing, guys. You're going to start looking at light. You can look at it in magazines, in pictures on Instagram, when you're just walking around in the world. You're going to start looking at it and going, oh, that's a highlight. Oh, that's midtones. Oh, that's shadows. You're literally going to see life differently, because we have to remember it's the same way our eyeballs work, right? Everything we interpret is based on how we are attracted to the light. We don't look at things in the dark. We have a hard time. We want to focus on them. Things we focus on are pretty much always in the light.
And you know, so I do this a lot. Like, I used to do it too, is I would turn on different lamps and different light bulbs. You'll start realizing the tones of different lighting, whether it's cool or warm. So with some photos, you know, someone sitting next to, you know, a lamp in their couch or something, and you'll see the direction, you'll see that warmness or that coolness, and have fun playing around with that.
And depending on what your story is, a lot of times, you know, as professionals, we are taking it to this level of control, right? Where we want to manipulate this light in such a way that it creates an even better image, an even better visual story. But a lot of times, even in reality, we can't manipulate the light. So we still have to come back to this foundation of, where's the light coming from? How powerful is it? Is it soft, dull, shaded light, or is it really sunny, bright light? And look at where the light is hitting on our subjects. Now you can see how different I look, right? Because we turned on all this light, which still made it average. It automatically averaged the light. But notice how I look a bit more washed out. That picture doesn't look as bright. Everything's kind of softer. Because what happened was, I made the contrast, the dark space, brighter. I made it closer to the kind of light that was hitting my face. I brought that dark light closer to the light I'm in. So it's softer, it's more even, right? So this is kind of the direction I want you guys to start thinking when you're shooting, again, cell phone or DSLR. What's happening with our light? So I told you guys last week, I promised you some photos that I've taken. I took these photos with my cell phone, actually, because I wanted to prove another point, which is all cameras are great, even if you can't always have it in there. So
I'm always practicing with my cell phone too, because I don't always want to carry my DSLR around, and I want to be present in that moment as well. So having that at my, at my fingertips is fun to have. And I'm sure you feel the same way, that we're able to have those things, but you can take better photos with them, like you just did with these plants, if you know and understand all these tips.
Well, exactly. And we, years and years of doing this, it might feel like it comes more naturally, but the thing is, guys, the more it feels natural, that means you're boxing yourself in. So when it comes to photography, if you think, oh, that's the best shot and that's the best angle, and you just shoot it and walk away, then you're not actually being a storyteller. You're not giving yourself the time to really be in that moment. So yeah, I know how the camera works. I know all these great tips, and it feels a little bit natural, but I try my best to still feel like every experience is unique, and I can be curious on how could I do this a little differently, and how can I come at this from a new perspective. So what I did with my cell phone, guys, is these are little tiny winter squash. So they're about, I don't know, an inch and a half big. And you might think this is done in portrait mode on the iPhone, but it's actually not. When you have really tiny objects with cell phones, you can actually do better with the regular photo mode and let your camera physically get as close to the object as it will allow you to go, where you can still focus. So notice how this front leaf is out of focus, the middle leaf is in focus, and then it goes out of focus again in the background. That's not portrait mode. That's actually the camera itself getting that really shallow aperture in auto mode, simply because I'm physically close to the object, okay? That's what auto mode does. So getting back to this idea of light, let's look at this. You guys that are with us and chatting, I want to hear from you guys now. What do you see now that we've been talking about light? Look at this shot and tell me, highlights, midtones, shadows. What catches your attention? What do you see first when you think about light and you guys are looking at this picture? What comes to mind for you? I want to hear from you guys. Share in the chat box. If you guys are listening in, your chat box in the bottom right corner, take a look at this photo. Help me analyze it. And what do you think about when you think of light? This isn't always easy. Sometimes it's like really obvious and you're like, there's the light, it's shining right on me. But in this case, it doesn't necessarily come right away. So take a wild guess. Alicia, what do you think what comes to mind for you first?
That it must have been a very soft lit type of day. Maybe you're in the shade, or there was clouds, that there's no real harshness to the light. That's what I'm seeing.
So if you like a power scale of 0 to 10, maybe you'd put this at 0 being no power and 10 being super bright sunlight. Maybe you put this at a 5 or a 6, right? It's not dark, but it's also not really bright either.
Shadows.
Debbie said the shadows under the leaves. Sorry, go ahead. You can read it.
No, it's okay, but there's some light shining through the top of the leaf. Yeah, you can actually see the glow for sure.
Very true, very true. So she's seeing, let me see if my pointer's on the screen. Debbie, let me know if you're seeing this glow. Is that what you're noticing? Or even this edge here?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the beauty of a still image, guys. When we look at movies, great, yeah. So when we look at movies and we think about our own eyes, we actually see in movies, we see in fast moving, constant moving visuals. that's what and I know Alicia can agree with me on this, that's what gives me goosebumps about still photography. If you read our mission statement on the website, it is about bringing instantly into the moment, feeling like you are there and permanently stuck in time because you're able to pause this moment, right? It's not a moving video. So having a picture like this, we don't naturally go, oh, look at the shadows under the leaves and the light shining and creating this glow around. We don't think that way naturally. Our eyes just go, soil, leaf, plant growing, move on, you know?
You know what I love is the look and feel of the mulch, I guess you want to call it, the mulch or the dirt like underneath it. It's neat how the light is kind of reflecting its wetness. I enjoy that.
So I'm glad you pointed that out because this is the beauty of different perspectives, guys. This is such a simple photo, and that is the point of these classes. And is Alicia and I she didn't see this picture. We do not have like scripts for these classes. We know our tips. We come in, we have a conversation, and we talk naturally about what we see in the moment. So here she is seeing this photo for the first time. I just took it an hour ago, and she saw something. It didn't even cross my mind. I saw the soft light and the glow that Debbie pointed out, and the sharpness, and how this coloring, you know, is obviously different than this coloring of green. But here's what Alicia's pointing out. And this goes back to us training our eyes and our mind to be in the moment and really look for the light. So this overall image, it's natural for us to realize there's not bright sunlight anywhere. But it took us a minute. It took Alicia a second. I don't know if I would have ever noticed it necessarily, to notice that there's actually is some hard light in this photo, and it's right here. And the way you can start training your eye to see hard light is to look for where highlights meet shadows and there's no midtone in between. Okay, so it's a very contrasty point in the photo. I don't know if I can zoom in on this, but
you know, it's funny because, I mean, I know this came off of your phone, but it's pretty good. It's like I can feel that mulch in my hands. I can feel how soft those leaves are even, you know, so that light helped me, you know, and how you took it helped me manipulate even just that awareness of what that feeling would be like, or even the smell that you're smelling, you know.
And how about this word? Like, here's the whole term of like a photo is worth 1,000 words. How about this? You know, a beautiful image creates that duality, that contrast, right? Which is nature in itself. So look at the softness of the light, the softness of the leaves, what I focused on. And then you have this rough, tough mulch, which is really the foundation of it all, right? And like you said, you can feel it, this wetness and this mulch in your hands. And one of my biggest learning lessons in gardening has been that soil is everything. It is the source of life, and good soil is the foundation to anything growing, right? So here we are talking about light. That is how plants grow, right? Is sunlight. So seeing this in soft light, it gives you this feeling of like these soft, beautiful plants, and yet this harsh, rough texture of the mulch. It's a great way to create symbolism in photography, in storytelling, is to look for those contrasts, look for that duality. So you guys, you see what we're talking about, right? This softness and purely light. We could talk about color, texture, we could talk about all these other things, but simply by noticing the light, you have a whole new way of telling a story. I'm gonna bring up one other photo real quick, which is totally different. If I can, I'll just bring up one more. So these are, I'm not even gonna tell you what these are. I want you guys to take a wild guess. I'm just gonna put a little circle around this little section down here to give you a hint. What do you think this is growing in my garden? This is your clue right here. Alicia, did I tell you what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. You can tell him.
I think you did. It's a carrot. Is it
Yeah,
carrot?
but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that orange, guys, is a carrot stuck right in
I didn't even
green.
know
I
what
learned
the
that
leaves look like.
what I'm sorry, I didn't
I
catch
never
that. What'd you
even
say? You
knew
don't know
what
what look?
I never even knew what the leaves look like. It's interesting to see
Oh yeah.
the gardening aspect.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be like Lucia says, oh my God, that's so cool. It is okay, I'm glad you said that, Lucia, because I literally am like, I feel like a child. I'm so blown away by how cool it is to wake up every day and be like, look, it grew. Look
Aw.
at that. Like I have this whole like, it's amazing to me. It's mind blowing. So um, my fiance made me a little garden box for my birthday over the weekend, and not little, it's huge. There's two of them. They're 3 by 5 feet. They're not huge, but they're not little either. It's responsibility, let me tell you. So a week before we started, I had already been doing a bunch of research, and I'm like, it's time to stop researching. I just need to do it. And one of the first things, the easiest things you guys can do if you ever want to grow a garden is go look up the vegetables. I'm pretty much a vegetarian, so that's all we eat. Go look up the vegetables you could literally buy from the grocery store that you can grow from scraps. Potatoes, celery, carrot greens, garlic, onion, lettuce, spinach, bok choy.
Oh,
I mean, I'm going nuts here,
I love
okay?
bok choy.
Well, wait a minute. I'm coming back to this picture because I want to ask you guys a very specific question about that photo, but I'll bring this up because I know it already loaded. How cool is this? This is what baby bok choy looks like. Wait, where'd it go?
I don't know.
Why didn't it come up? I know. That was a
Oh, that's cool.
that's what the kidney scrap looks like. I just cut off that much in the end. And within 24 hours, there were little tiny leaves coming out of it. It's sitting in my windowsill.
It's so
Once it grows,
incredible. This stuff, it just blows my mind.
so here's such. I told you guys I'm not. I think so too, Donna. I'm not trying to. We are doing this naturally with you guys. I can't create a script out of this. I just decided on the fly that my story in this 12-week course was going to be about my garden, because why not? It's an easy subject. Make it easy for yourself to get creative, okay? It's going to change every day, whether I like it or not. The light is going to constantly change, and it gives me something to watch expand and grow, and I'm a part of it, right?
Yeah, you're
so your kid
growing with it. That's pretty awesome.
It is, and I'm learning from it, but photography has kind of bridged this gap of it's just a tool or a resource or a chore or something I have to do or should do, to something that is fun and creative and actually gets me excited to go out and shoot a picture, because I'm looking at it from this whole new perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I, this is in my windowsill. So Alicia was talking about, the tone of light. Guys, when light is coming directly from the sun, it's warm. The sun is a warm color. But what color, I know you see the green, so don't say green. What other color that pertains to light is really prominent in this picture? What color do you actually see? Do you guys see this up here?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Donna.
There you go.
Blue. So that blue, and we're going to get into this more later with other tips, but just notice the tonal difference in the light, simply because we're looking at warm and cold. So those blues and grays, Diana, that tone that you see is cold. And all of this, which is the contrast, the opposite of cold, another great way to create an amazing, simple story visually is to use warm and cold tones of light together. So you have this warmth, you have this cold, and when you analyze the light ahead of time and realize that's what's happening, you can use it to your favor to make the picture interesting. So go start chopping up your kitchen scraps. But here's Here's one thing I learned. Your best bet, which this makes sense, is with non-GMO organics, because there's nothing aside from any pesticides they use to grow it. They use growth hormones in veggies that that hormone's only job is to make sure that plant does not regenerate. So they have full control over that crop. So this is all happening very quickly because I'm using organic, but from the grocery store. I just went to Whole Foods and got these things. So go look it up. If you live in Florida, which I know a lot of us do, you can do this all year round. And join me. We'll start a garden club.
A photography garden club so we can watch them all grow.
Oh my God, that's the best idea ever. I love it. So without realizing it, Alicia already brought this up in the other photo, but I wanted to bring this photo back up because it's kind of the opposite of that first photo we saw, which was the squash, the soft little single leaves and the dark rough mulch under it. But now what kind of color do we see? What pops out to you? What do you notice? I know we see green. We're talking about a garden. You're going to see a lot of green from me, so don't say green. Step past the green, the obvious. What do you notice? What does your eye go to immediately in this photo? Alicia, what does your eye go to in this shot?
You know, it's kind of weird because it's fairly balanced. I see both. Like, especially on the bottom, I see towards the right, it's, you know, in that bluer type grayish, you know, darker tones. And then as soon as you go to the left, it's a very kind of earthy, crunchy, you know, warm. So it's really very balanced type of shot, it looks like.
What about the green? What color?
I'm seeing yellow hues.
Yeah. More hues.
I mean, with
Donna said her. Yeah, that's what Donna just said. My eyes go to the water on the leaves and the dirt spots. I didn't even notice the dirt spots. You're right. See this right here? Mm-hmm. So your eyes were immediately attracted to the focal points, right? Which are these leaves taking over your shot, even though some of them are out of focus. But what you're really noticing is the light. Mm-hmm. The water droplets. So again, our brain and eyes were conditioned lifetime after lifetime of going leaves, carrot, ground, soil, plant, eat it. That's like all our brains want to do. But then we go, ooh, that's a warm, contrasty, bright light. That's what's making me think wetness, right? I see the water droplets, but what I really see is, and I'll zoom in on this, guys. I
personally see a very, obviously the contrasting colors, but in the highlights of the water droplets, I feel it's more of a cool tone than.
There you go.
Yeah. That's just me seeing what I'm seeing.
So this is really easy to do when you're looking at objects that are super tiny, or in general, scenes that have less subjects in them. So if you want to go out and practice seeing the light, the power and direction of light, don't go shoot the beautiful tree in your backyard, okay? Unless the sun's bursting through it and that's all. It's more complicated when there's a lot in your scene. When you zoom in and hone in on something tiny, it's actually easier to start identifying these layers. Again, here's Alicia pointing something out I wouldn't have seen, and she's right. So for a second, let's just talk about reflections. Why is that reflection colder? What is it actually reflecting?
The sky. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if we all knew that, but to me, it's another one of those mind-blowing happy moments. We naturally understand it, but when we actually take a moment to step back and analyze our scene, we can go, wait, that's a part of my story. That's what I want to use to bring in my viewer and really, you know, be a part of what this garden means to me. So I knew the dewdrops in the morning were going to be really cool to photograph. And I knew our subject was about light, but I didn't know where it would take us or what direction it would pull us in, whether it was tone or contrast. We've really gotten to get an idea of how complicated, how dynamic light really is. And guys, we're just touching the surface. Like, this is like an iceberg, okay? We're just showing you what's above the water. when it comes to light, and even before we get into Alicia and all her advanced lighting, when it comes to light itself, there is so much we have to look at and really analyze, and it can almost feel daunting at first. So simply starting with what kind of light, and think of what kind we're talking about, the power, how much, how little, and the direction, right? So if it's really directional, like a flashlight, that's really powerful light in one place. Or is it soft wrapping light where it's average everywhere? Where's our highlights? Where's our shadows? Where's our contrasting points? So who's ready to kind of go out and see life a little differently and take some shots? I know last week we talked to some ladies who were doing sunset photos. This should give you a whole new perspective of looking at the sunlight, again, as it changes and it's moving over the horizon. Start noticing why we call it the golden hour. It starts to warm up, everything gets soft, and we get those glowy yellow tones on skin and on everything. So I know you're going to wait till the weekend, but I want to see what Alicia does with her off-camera lighting. Maybe show her dogs.
Okay. I definitely
get it out. I want to see it.
Okay, I definitely will do it. Yeah.
Just do it like after you've taken them for a long run, so they're pooped and they're just like.
I feel like they're never pooped nowadays. They're getting just as much cabin fever as we all are.
I know. So get out, guys. Let's go out and shoot. I'm going to go check on my garden now because we finally got some sunlight here. Yay. It was raining all morning here too. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I want to leave you with thanks. By the way, I know we've been saying 30 minutes, but I'm enjoying these. If you guys are okay with them going for like 40-45 minutes, I won't shorten them. But if you want them shorter, we could totally shorten this conversation to get to the point. I enjoy being with you guys and kind of talking through this. Good. Glad you guys love the info.
Yeah, no, we want to be able to relate with you guys and just have a kind of community conversation. It's fun. Exactly. Definitely fun.
Real depth. That's the idea here. Okay. I do have a couple announcements I want to make for sure because we have some new things on the books, and life is here in Florida starting to get back to normal. I know you said things are opening up there at the beginning of May as well. So we are going to leave you guys with the weekend. I want you guys to seriously get out of your heads, get your cameras out. I don't care what you shoot. I don't care if you feel stupid or uncreative or you feel like you've got cabin fever. Make this the thing you do that gets you out of that space, even if you create horrible pictures, because you're never actually going to create horrible pictures. We know that, right? So go shoot this weekend, have fun with it, and know that starting next week, we have a couple big things happening. Wednesday, we are doing another beginner DSLR class. They're about 2.5 hours long. They're right here just like this. You guys can jump on. We will have a lot of interaction. It's $25 for our DSLR classes. We're going to do them once or twice a month. We have our first group classes coming back next weekend. So those of you who are here in Orlando, I miss you all. Let's go out and have some fun. I'm actually going to be diving into some more advanced storytelling techniques. We're going to do beginner DSLR on May 9th in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we're going to go shoot portraits and sunsets down at Lake Eola. So we're going to get the whole gamut of light next Saturday. I think it's May 9th. So check those out on the website. It's livewonderful.com/tours. And you typing that in for me, Alicia?
Yeah.
The online classes, guys, your quickest way to get to them is through this link here, which is always clickmeeting.com. So that's where our online webinars are held. I'm in the process of getting those links transferred to the website so you can easily connect through just Live Wonderful. But you can always find that link on our Instagram too. All of our classes are going to be found at livewonderful.com/learn. And the tours, which are now ramping back up, we have a macro workshop on June 13th. Alicia's coming into town. We're going to do portraits and editing together in a couple weeks. So we are getting back together. Listen, I am not judging anyone who still feels like it might be unsafe to get out. I want you guys to know I support whatever position you stand in right now.
Absolutely.
But I'll tell you, we are happy. If you want to wear a mask and come, I really want you guys to feel like we're getting a space where you can get out of your heads and get back into really living and enjoying life right now. Because I know it's been harder than ever on all of us. So come join us. Come take these classes with us. Alicia's going to be here in a couple weeks. I'm super excited. So we'll have more info on that.
I'm so excited.
You broke up a little bit. Hold on. Oh, no. Say it again.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Wait, it's catching back up.
I don't know what happened. I
don't know.
Give okay. I'm gonna.
Oh, she's typing. We're losing Alicia a little bit, but she's typing. I don't know if you guys can still hear her. Maybe it's just me losing her. But she's coming down in a couple weeks. She'll be here for, we're going to do a full day Saturday workshop, whatever that, I think it's May 16th. So if you want to come hang out and dive into portraits and editing, and always keep in mind, guys, we're here for you if you want to do private lessons one-on-one, whether that's online or in person here at the studio. Alicia says, I was saying it's giving me life and I can't wait. Okay, this is killing me because here she is dying on this screen here, but I know she's still with us and she can hear us. I'm super excited that she's coming. I know all of you guys are too. If you haven't been in a class with Alicia yet, she's, you haven't heard our backstory. We're friends from college. We had no overt plan to make this happen. This has all come naturally. She's living her life in Boston. I'm currently living my life in Orlando. And we have slowly but naturally just come together and really enjoy teaching these classes. So any chance we get, she comes here and we double up on the fun over a long weekend of photography.
Can you hear me now?
So,
I feel like you can hear me.
Can you hear me now? Yes. I see you and hear you now.
All right, great. Yes, I'm always excited to come down there and connect with people and share my experiences and my knowledge and help, see life through a new lens. So it does give me life every time I get to come down there. So hopefully if you're in that area, you get to, come see us and work with us.
Okay, so Monday at noon, again, if you know anybody who's interested in photography, send them this link. Let them know. This is, as you guys can tell, we can dive into DSLR and camera photography or phone photography. But Monday, we're going in tip 4, okay? So remember, all these tips, guys, they compound on each other. We can't forget the last 3 once we get to Monday. Use this weekend to dive into your why. Start looking at the light a little differently, right? Really start to hone in on what it feels like from your perspective to have fun in a different way and capture fun, fun with your camera, okay? So whatever it is you're shooting, go out, have fun this weekend. I hope you have great weather, and we will see you back here Monday at noon. Bye, everyone. I'll see you soon, Alicia. I'm not sure where she went, but if you can hear me, I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you guys soon.